a lot of stuff going on in life as it is on Sundays, kids and projects and holidays and all that good stuff. Anyways, let's see. So on the agenda here, the next greatest of all times, I've got Lieutenant Colonel John Carl Marks. He is a A10 Warthog, A10 Thunderbird pilot, and man, he has like the longest career history of like any pilot in the military. Man, 37 years. On top of that, he had like over 7,000 flying hours. I mean, that is nuts. And I don't know if you guys have seen any of the clips yet, but dude, A10s are just badass. I mean, those guys, um, they fly low to the ground, just decimate targets, all that type of shit, up to 4,000 rounds a minute. And man, these pilots are just freaking awesome. I feel like they don't get spoken about or get as much credit either for what their contributions are to the military and protecting the United States. Um, one thing for certain that I got a lot of pride thinking about people with the ability to do that stuff, to fly those bad boys, how many lives they can save, how many lives they protect, and I mean, how many bad guys they can take out. Shit. But, it's Rob O'Neill, like him or not, he did make a comment one time, and I agree with him 100% when he said, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and except an A10. An A10 will fucking kill you. So I got a kick out of that one, but he's not wrong. I mean, those guys, dude, just the stuff they do is amazing. With the last couple of episodes I've done on like Michael Murphy and or the whole Operation Gothic Serpent or Black Hawk Down incident, Battle of Mogadishu. Um, Reading about the 160 Night Stalkers, the elite military army helicopter pilots, and I'm just thinking in my head, man, these guys, the type of risk they put out there, getting out there and whatnot, just insane. And some of the people that were in Operation Gothic Serpent, uh, they talk about the Night Stalkers and the helicopters and whatnot, and basically saying you could radio one of them in, they would figure out a way to get to you, or they would try to at least, regardless if they die or not. And you look at Chief Warrant Officer Michael Durant, for instance, and he was in Super 6-4. That was the second chopper that went down. He was the first POW the United States had since Vietnam. Um, the reason he got shot down is because he was hovering over the first crash when Super 6-1 went down. And with helicopters, one thing for certain that United States learned with urban combat or anything along that line is the longer it takes for a chopper to get up in the air and get away from everything, the more dangerous it is. I mean, RPGs, we watch these movies and you see these guys with an RPG and they shoot it, and you see this rocket propelled grenade going or whatever. Those things shoot so fast you can't see those. Believe me, I've seen RPGs many a times. And like with these helicopters, Operation Red Wings and Gothic Serpent, and there's the Extortion 17, which we haven't covered yet. A lot of people are covering it right now, especially on Anti-Hero Podcast, which those guys have a fantastic show, by the way. I mean, I definitely recommend watching it. They go through, they get the right people on there, they get the right information. Whenever they call bullshit on people, they make sure that they do it the proper way. And when they screw up, they do apologize and amend what they said, retract it. So great podcast to check out. Once again, shout out to Sunny Money, great dude. He's always been supporting my channel. I always appreciate it, tons and tons. And then out to my friend Redheaded Stepchild. Used to do a show with him for a while there, but another good dude. Anyways, but I figured, with the A10 pilots, and see, they're phasing, A10's just about phased out. I mean, they've upgraded and changed it so many times over and over. But, seeing the Warthog, I mean, they fly low, and you just see boom, 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 and you see like a couple of tracer rounds hitting, but there's just dust and smoke and whatever else, rubble and debris after they've shot. So, it's pretty rad. I just figured, you know what, let's cover some stuff on this. I mean, he'd gotten the Flying Cross with the Air Force, which is pretty damn cool. But we'll get into his career, starting from doing missions and stuff like that during Desert Storm. I guess he was a pretty key component, as far as that went, all the way up until just barely last year he'd retired, which very impressive career. I mean, it's just really cool to see that. And like Air Force, I don't really talk about the Air Force all that much because it never really interests me. A lot of it, a lot of it wasn't. I didn't have anything in common with them. Let's put it that way. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not. Technology whiz. I'm a grunt. But like, with the Air Force, I have to say, there's a bunch of positions though that are pretty cool, and I have tons of respect for those dudes. Combat air controllers. Those dudes are amazing. They go through some of the most difficult training, a lot more difficult than I thought. It's you think about it though, they're the dudes that once they get in there, you take down some areas. They do planning for an initial invasion and what airports or securing sites to set up a temporary forward operating base or anything along that line. So they play a huge role in it. They jump in before everybody. The other one that I don't speak of very often as far as that goes in the special operations community, and you really don't see a whole lot about these dudes, are the PJs. Those the Air Force parajumpers, man, those guys, I mean, they're pretty damn impressive too. And you come to find out the pipeline that these guys go through in the Air Force, their classes and everything, like they have to go through an indocs, or some of them are like 2.5 years. I mean, they go through that much training. But like for instance, one of the things I always think about is SEER school, and surviving and going through that rough situations and whatnot. In SEER school, like what's impressive about it though is one of the things that they teach you is if you're a captive and your captor is showing you hospitality, offering you like, oh, do you need a cigarette? Or are you thirsty? Do you need water or whatever? You accept it. I mean, you play ball with them to an extent in interrogations, and this is what kept Michael Durant alive from the Battle of Mogadishu. And that is, he accepted a cigar. He doesn't even smoke cigars, but he smoked a cigar with one of his captors. Every time they were interrogating him, they were trying to get him to say stuff that would paint a negative image of the United States so they could use that for propaganda. And, his answers are just the simple ones that they taught these guys in SEER school. And that is, I just follow orders. I don't know the cause behind it, or, just vague answers like that. I follow a chain of command. That's all I really know. I'm not sure what else is going on, operational or whatnot. And so, I mean, the training that they go through, it's there's a lot of pretty good skills. It's not just the technical stuff or whatever, but I don't know. It's fascinating to me. It's totally different. The Navy fleet's always been kind of cool, but I've never really got into the Air Force type stuff to check it out. But if you have time, I definitely recommend checking it out. That's for sure. Look up the combat controllers, the PJs. I mean, it's just training on that stuff, man. It's pretty rough. I still think from the looks of everything, Navy SEALs training, is nasty, and that's just because of the sand and salt water and all that junk those guys go through, which I mean, toughest training on the planet, or whatnot, in my opinion. But I mean, it's still not as to me, Scout Sniper program still, out of all of the types of pipelines and whatnot, was cool. However, they phased that out and moved that into Force Recon, so we'll see how it goes from there with that one. But I was kind of bummed out because that's always been a Marine Corps tradition, and that is everybody knows who Carlos Hathcock is. Vietnam sniper. He was originally an MP, went over there and deployed, And I mean, stories are epic and legendary. The guy loved being a Marine, and when they medically discharged him early of his 20 years, he talked about how he felt abandoned. And, like that was his whole life. He loved it. I mean, he's the guy who basically, if you wanted to say, wrote the manual for sniping for the United States in a sense. I mean, he set up the first sniper school for the Marine Corps after that, and just reading citations or accounts of people that were there with him in Vietnam is freaking awesome. I mean, Carlos Hathcock, they said he's like one of the nicest gentlemen you'd ever meet in your life. You would have no idea, he was just this lethal sniper. And I love it. I love reading about that type of stuff. It's his mentality too. I don't know. It just takes a special person to have it. Hathcock had what it takes. That's for damn sure. Don't get me wrong. There's a bunch of decent snipers that have came around, but Chris Kyle, like him or not, he was efficient in his job. Or some of the Delta Force guys, which I don't really know too much about, especially considering Delta likes to keep their mouth shut for the most part, whereas the Navy SEALs tend to like to have book deals and movies. But hey, I think Carlos Hathcock, though, I still think I'd put my money on him if it came down to a tournament. Nothing could sway me from that one. Just looking at all the comments I made, he's a hell of a Marine. I put him up there right next to Chesty, getting 5 Navy crosses. I mean, it's just some badass dudes. But, I figure let's shed some love, give some love out to the Air Force. Haven't really gotten into anything for them yet, but I think, something fresh, something different. I know a lot of the military history and stuff like that, a lot of it's over and over and over, on YouTube and content wise. And so I kind of want to, that's kind of another reason I want to sway it. One of the other things I got request was to talk about my experiences, stuff like that. And I'm going to start doing some content on that, put that out there. There's a lot of interesting things, a lot of traditions the Corps has and all that type of stuff. So hopefully that'll be some good content. I don't necessarily talking about myself that much, but there's some questions and things like that, and I think it'd be cool for people that don't know anything about it or who didn't serve or anything like that to kind of get a better idea of it. I mean, you see what's on television, and we usually take that to a T or grain of salt, however way, but personal experiences are a little bit different, I suppose. What else here? The Stevens 555 by Savage double barrel over and under. I'm getting to that today, probably later. So we'll have another review out. There's a lot of things I like about it, and there's a couple of things I don't care for. But it's a neat little shotgun. It's fun. It's not too expensive. I think it's about $750. So it's definitely a good over and under to start for. I mean, mine's for my daughter because she wants to shoot trap and do clay pigeons and stuff like that, ever since she was a little girl. Well, she is a little girl still, but, since she was young. Her and I used to go out, and she would push the button to launch the sporting clays out and stuff like that when I'd be practicing. It was a lot of fun as a dad-daughter. But, yeah, there's that. After the Air Force, I don't know. Does anybody even know what Space Force does, out of curiosity? I mean, we laugh and joke about it and all that shit, but like, what exactly do they do? I mean, Space Force is relatively new. I mean, is it regarding all this weird UFO shit going on or what? I don't know. I look at the Space Force symbol, and no offense if anybody from Space Force is ever watching this. I'm really not trying to insult you. This is all opinion, but I look at their symbol and it looks like it's the thing off of Star Trek, the little logo, whatever thing or whatever. And it's, I don't know. Is it a joke? I mean, what's the deal with it? But, I don't really know jack shit about that. I did watch their basic or boot camp or whatever, and they're not very strict on the physical aspect of it, that's for sure. Which I don't imagine Space Force having a ton of physical work or anything along that line to begin with. I mean, the Air Force is kind of around the same spot, unless you're in one of the ground boots on the ground military occupations. But no, I think it'd be cool. Anybody knew anything about it out of curiosity, because you try to research it, and Wikipedia is full of shit for starters. Anybody can go on there and edit it and add all that crap in. So it's and unfortunately, another thing with our military lately, and everybody knows this as well, is just there's a lot of inconsistencies with stories. All these people getting book deals, which is another thing I was curious and thinking about bringing up, and that is, we spoke about Operation Red Wings and Black Hawk Down and all that stuff. There's tons of book deals from all sorts of people about it, and there's some of the inconsistencies you find. It's just like the Navy approved this book, and these are people on the higher up chain of command to do so, but why are they even actually like reading it and fact checking, or is it they're actually the ones writing it, like Marcus Luttrell said, and they're using it as a propaganda piece? I believe it's that one. But you look back, there was, if you've ever seen, there's an old film, Flags of Our Fathers. It's about the Marines that were on the old Pork Chop Hill, hoisting the flag up and everything along that line. And after that whole scenario, they took 3 of the people that were part of the platoon boosting that flag up, right? In that classic famous picture. And then they paraded them around the United States to try to get people to buy bonds and do all sorts of stuff like that. And one of the characters in it, he was kind of a complete fraud. He was really didn't do anything or whatnot, or they lied about who was the people in the picture hoisting the flag. And, these Gold Star families, these are heroes and stuff. The United States, if you really think about it, they've been, there's a lot of PR type crap that they've been doing for so long. And I look at it now, and it's no different than what the Navy did with Rob O'Neill or Marcus Luttrell or, that type of shit. It's kind of crazy to think about it. And so many people are like, oh man, they've lost their integrity and all this stuff. And then you look at it, did they really ever have it? Once the politicians got involved in the Army or the Marines, Navy, Air Force, whatever, that's when problems started happening. Just bureaucracy and everything along that line. But anyways, that's just something people to think about. Go check stuff out. I might be wrong. A lot of what I say is purely, my opinion, and it's not fact. So don't take a lot of it to the word just because I said it. If I do give out information that's inaccurate or whatnot, just go ahead, comment below, let me know so I can correct it and retract it. With military stuff going on and everything else going on in our country right now, there's so many damn lies and people are just so dishonest. It's like we have enough of that shit. I'd prefer somebody tells me the truth and facts so I can fix it. We get the right word out. But anyways, you guys, thanks for tuning in. Single Shot Sunday. We'll get those projects coming out. You guys have a good rest of your Sunday. Take care.